Hello and welcome back to another episode of Fully Booked, the Hidden Gems author podcast, which Craig Touch and myself, Roland Hume, chat some of the interesting figures and leading lights of this crazy industry of writing and publishing. And today we are absolutely delighted to welcome Kae Wagner, who is a best-selling and award-winning author who has so much to tell us about helping other authors achieve success. So Kae, how are you doing today?
I am fabulous today. How are you guys?
Oh, I'm very well. I always like it when you ask somebody, people are like, "Oh, I'm okay," or not too bad, or something. You say "fabulous." That's a good.
Fabulous.
There we go.
Followed by fantastic.
Well, we're delighted to have the fabulous and fantastic Kae Wagner with us, and of course, we wouldn't be here without the man himself, Craig Touch, the owner and founder of Hidden Gems and an author himself. How are you doing today, Craig?
I'm okay.
Well, it's Canadian.
You have to lower your expectations. The pressure on me, right? No, I'm doing great. Thanks.
He's just okay.
So we wanted to have you on to talk about things that authors, have the most issue with, which is, how to market their books, how to build visibility, how to grow audiences, and those are the kinds of things that you do all the time with your Bold Authors Network and book agency, right? So why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and your agency and how that got started and what you guys do, and then we'll go from there.
Great. So I've been a writer all my life, variety of sorts of writing, the angst of a teenager in a journal, for example. And then I had, still have a marketing agency. And I wrote business books for a while, and those business books were what led me to get on the national speaking circuit, to engage with CEOs around the country. And I realized the power and the impact of having a book in business. And that's really what we do in the Bold Authors Book Agency, which is to work with CEOs, experts, coaches, consultants, people who are thought leaders to pull together a book so that they can get in doors that otherwise would not be open to them. In the Bold Authors Network, however, that I founded at the beginning of this year. So we're coming up on our first year anniversary. It's been an exciting adventure. And I worked with authors because as I was writing primarily nonfiction and then began writing fiction, which is a whole different story. But as I was writing fiction, I heard from a lot of authors who were just like, I hate marketing. Could I just write a book and then have everybody just stumble on it and buy it? And buy, hundreds of thousands of copies. Wouldn't that be the best marketing strategy you could ever have? And I'm like, nope, stumbling about in the dark does not work. Sorry, my friends. Here's a stat for you guys. Yeah, here's a stat for you. About 75% of all fiction writers are introverts. And so they would really rather not talk about their books. They would really rather not get up on stage. They would really rather not talk about the M word. We'll call it the M word, the marketing word. And so a lot of people started talking to me about what do we do? And so I started the Bold Authors Network, and every Monday we meet for 1 hour from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern. I call it promo hour in all caps because I want all of these authors to go from being introverted authors who hate marketing to becoming bold authors. That's my goal.
Well, that's great. And how much of that is psychological and how much of that is strategic and tactical?
Well, I couldn't give you a percentage, but I can tell you this. The biggest hurdle is to have these authors who hate marketing go through a mindset change. And when we get through a mindset change, then we can grab the bull by the horns and accomplish so much. And so I have watched over the course of a year, authors who are not saying a word, Yep, I wrote a book, not saying a word about it, to getting on stages, to starting blogs, to writing a series. I mean, these people are on fire. So to answer your question specifically, if you don't have the mindset, you're going to hate it every day.
Yeah.
I think mindset is so important. I'm sorry, Craig. I'll stop interrupting.
No, I was just no. I was just going to say, like, it also, I think, it depends on why they're so introverted. I think some people have like that social anxiety, and it's even harder for them to. It's one thing to just not be interested in that side of it, which is a big part of a lot of authors' experience. Like, they just want to write. They don't want to do the marketing. That's not why they became a writer, right? But self-publishing means you got to wear all the hats, so they have to do it. It's easier, not necessarily easy, but easier for them maybe to do that mindset change than somebody who isn't doing it because they have like that social anxiety. They have that fear of public speaking, of getting up on stage. And I think that might be harder to change, although I think that there is probably a lot of marketing where you don't necessarily have to be front and center.
Right. Yeah. So it's not my goal for people to be a, square peg in a round hole, whatever that analogy is. It is really for them to understand that marketing is their responsibility. Even if you're published with a publisher, a traditional publisher, it is still your job as an author to take responsibility for the marketing and publicity of your book. And that is the biggest hurdle. That is why people want a publisher, because then they can write and hand it off, right? They're done. But that's really not the way the world works. And so number one is to take responsibility for marketing, and in doing so, to find those areas that you are most comfortable in and start with those. So for example, I'm an introvert, not a high introvert, but I love getting on stages. I love being a guest on podcasts. I love speaking, right? Chat. Let's do that. But that's not true for everyone. And so, like you said, Craig, there are some things that don't require you to be a speaker or to do video, which is another hang up for a lot of people. There are many things that can be done that don't require that anxiety producing exercise that a lot of people have. And I don't really, I don't want to necessarily focus on the introverted part of it. It just is when people have introversion, it creates a little more of an uphill battle. But that battle and that uncomfortable feeling can really be fixed when you make the switch to, I'm responsible for this book. It's not going to happen unless I take action. And here's the action that best suits my book in my situation for my readers. And who wants to have slaved away at a desk, tapping for years or months, and then have a book fall off the Amazon cliff?
Well, absolutely. But that is a big come to Jesus kind of moment for, I think, a lot of authors. I think when we get into this game, we're like, I want to write a book. I want to write the book that I want to write. And then afterwards, it's like, okay, where are all the people going to buy it? And it's kind of like, you have to make people buy it. You have to write something that people want to buy. And then you have to tell people about what it is that you have written that they want to buy.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And so marketing actually starts before you tap the first tap on the keyboard. Because if you are writing without an audience in mind, not knowing what your genre is, not knowing what part of the bookstore or bookshelf they're going to put your book on, and just hoping they'll find a spot for it, well, you have to think about the marketing ramifications before you start writing. You need to know not only your audience and your reader, but you need to know the market as well. And when you know the market, you can say, you will discover, is that piece of the market growing? Is that genre growing, or is it in decline? So there's an easy tool to find that out. It's called Google Trends. And you just go to Google Trends. It's a free app kind of thing. And you put in genre words, and it will show you the trend line of that genre for the past 5 years.
No, that's interesting. You say that's a simple thing, and I'm sorry, my cat's tail is appearing on the screen. But do you know, I think in all the years we've been doing these podcasts, no one has mentioned Google Trends as a tool before. Would you say that's correct, Craig?
I don't remember. I know I have used it, but I don't remember if we've ever really discussed it on the podcast. But yeah, it is a great tool. I don't know that I've ever used it specifically to type in a genre. So that's interesting. I usually use it more to look at what is trending, but more sort of like in general. I don't know that I don't even know if I've used it ever to search specifically for something. I've always, I think, just use it as like a, I want to see what everybody's looking for and what's hot right now. But the idea that I could actually put something in to see how it has trended over time, that's very interesting.
Yes, and it's also a really good keyword search tool, because you can put in, so let's say I want to find out what the romance genre is doing. Well, romance, as you guys probably know, is like split up into 10 subgenres by now. And so I can go into Google Trends and put in like romantasy, sweet romance, billionaire romance, any other kind of longer tail keyword phrase, and it will actually run comparisons for me on those specific phrases. So it becomes really important as authors when we begin writing, when we select our genres, our stories, that we understand that readers are going to look for us in a specific way. They're going to use keyword phrases. They're not just going to say romance anymore. They're going to say a specific kind of romance. They're not going to say fantasy anymore. Fantasy as a genre is also split up into 8 or 10 different subgenres. And so genres over time change, and it's important for authors to understand that where there is a large market, there is opportunity. There's also competition. So we have to factor those elements in as well. But Google Trends is a really good tool to start to understand to some degree what's happening out there in the marketplace.
And that's very important.
Yeah, and it's good if you're at the beginning of your journey trying to figure out what to write. I guess once you've already written the book, it's maybe less helpful, although it does seem like it breaks out by region, by state, by country. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking at marketing to, let's say your book is a romantasy, and you do a Google Trend search and you find that, there's a lot more search. There's a lot more people looking for it in certain areas. You could focus sort of your marketing on those areas.
Yes, that's exactly right. You're able to target locations through, general areas, through Facebook ads. Even, press releases that you run can be more heavily focused within a general geographic area as well. But all of this speaks to what an author needs to take into consideration as they begin to write. And so marketing really gets woven into the creation of your book. And that's what makes a bold author. Someone who takes into account the market that they're writing into, is aware of metadata and keywords, is aware of the audience profile, is aware of the fact that they are responsible for the marketing and promotions of their book. One of the things that we push very heavily is that every author begins knowing that they are going to do a series, and in so doing, they can create a larger arc in their storytelling. Or if
That's
they're
really
doing,
good advice.
that's okay. Or if they're doing nonfiction, they don't have to put all of their story or all of their solution or method or process into one book. You know, they can break it into facets. And what happens when you begin to write with a series in mind is then you become aware of how Amazon's algorithm will work for you almost immediately. If your first book says that it's a series, then your first book begins to gain momentum, Amazon's algorithm will serve it up to more people because it says, this is book 1 in a series of 4. It's doing well. We're going to push it really hard. We're going to push book 2. Now, if you fall down and you don't get book 2 up, then Amazon's like, I don't know what happened here, but Amazon loves series. The algorithm loves series. Readers love series. And so when you think about it, you do one book, and this goes back to my product marketing days. It takes as much effort, money, time, emotional, physical energy to push one book as it does a series of 4. And why
And
wouldn't
a series
you?
of 4 is profitable.
Yes. And why wouldn't you use all of your resources and then gain from 4 books instead of 1 book?
Right. I mean, of course, you start with the first one, so but I get what you're saying, because generally, especially if the books are you have to be read in order, you're typically not pushing book 2 so much. You're pushing the series, and
Right.
you want people to kind of start on book 1. If the books are interconnected and you can read them as standalones, then yeah, I mean, it's still good to have a series, but then you are sort of marketing each one individually. But it's interesting. So it sounds like you work with authors that are intentionally writing to market, that are writing to as a career because they want to earn a living as a writer, as opposed to someone who like just has a passion project and it's not necessarily about, they just want to tell the story, and it doesn't matter to them so much about whether there's a huge market for it or necessarily what their audience is. I mean, it's still good to know what your audience is, but because it sounds like what you're suggesting is really doing things through intention, right? Saying, okay, I want to write a book. What's a popular genre? What is the audience I'm writing for? And then that's all going to go into how you put that story together.
Right. So, so the people that are in the Bold Authors Network are not necessarily at the level that you're talking about, Craig, but they get to that level. Many of them have jobs. Many of them are writing on, evenings and weekends. Many have just not been exposed to some of these strategies and thoughts and positions. And so in learning, it makes them more effective, makes them more efficient. And one of the things that I do is I do a lot of micro solution workshops. So for example, just this week, I did a workshop in Promo Hour on listicles. Now you guys are familiar with listicles, right? Yes. So a listicle is
but yes, explain it.
It's a list that's an article. And so you will often see them being themed around seasons. Like at the end of the year, you'll see, the 20 best thrillers of 2025 or the 20 best mystery books of 2026 or the 10 best authors of X year. And so in Bold Authors Network, I did a workshop on what is a listicle, why to do it. Why does AI love listicles? And so right now we talk a lot about AI, the use of AI, but even more so AI as a marketing and visibility tool. AI loves certain structures and certain ways of scanning materials. And so we're really pushing people to position themselves in ways that they are creating a huge digital footprint for AI. And that is really becoming, AI is an answering machine. Google is a search machine. And so AI is also becoming a recommending machine as well. And we talk a lot about this dossier that AI is creating on us, this folder, and we want to stuff that folder and stuff that dossier full of stuff about us. And listicles is a way to do it. And then at the end of the workshop, I said, okay, so Bold Authors Network, we're going to do a listicle. Who wants to be in it? So we had a bunch of people signing up for that. And now we're going to produce our own listicle, send it out through press releases, emails. Everybody's going to promote it. So we do a lot of collaboration in Bold Authors Network as well. I find that authors write alone. And so there's a certain amount of isolation that happens. And so by offering, an hour every week, people have the opportunity to just kind of breathe for a while and celebrate and collaborate and ask the hard questions that they can't ask anybody else. And so we're a very supportive group of authors, supporting authors as well.
And you said you've only been doing it for about a year?
Yep.
How many authors do you have in there now?
We have attending every week. We have about 25, something like that. We have grown it to a list of just under 600. And so, because of time zones and people working, we have a lot of replay watchers.
Right.
And just continue to grow the group. Right now, we're going through kind of an exponential growth in terms of referrals and recommendations, which is nice to see that. We have a high degree of loyalty of people returning every week.
That's great.
Well, that's fantastic.
That's the best way to grow, right?
Right, exactly.
How did you start it initially? Was it, a bunch of authors that you kind of knew and sort of pulled them together and then let it go word of mouth, or how did you market your company?
So actually starting it came out of the need that I had as an author, which was to have a community to answer questions that I had. And so I started marketing it primarily through people that I knew, and then also through lead magnets. I ran Facebook ads to lead magnets, and that's where I got a lot of response. I was also spreading the word through, different networks, and so people would invite their friends, their author friends, and but I would say that the lead magnets were a strong driver of signups.
Right. That's great. Yeah, a lot of people use that for their novels as well. The lead magnet is a very powerful tool. Okay, so what are some of the other marketing ideas that you have that you sort of suggest to authors when they're writing their book, or when they've done writing the book and now they want to start promoting it?
Right. So to wrap up this whole mindset shift thing and kind of marketing 101 is the concept of repetition and frequency, which is marketing 101. If you want your book or any product to sell, you have to get your messaging out there in a repeated fashion over and over again with high frequency. And that's part of taking the responsibility for your book, is this responsibility for frequency and repetition. And it's a tough drill, because it's like selling any product. You're never finished with sales, ever. You can always do one more post. You can always do one more ad. You can always, write one more lead magnet. There's always more you can do in marketing your book. So you have to get used to the idea that this is an ongoing commitment that you will do until you want your book to fall off the cliff. Because when you stop promoting, people will stop coming, right? And so you want to continue to promote your book. Because I come out of a marketing agency background, I'm a big believer in advertising. So I do encourage people to do Facebook ads at a certain point. I would not do Facebook ads necessarily for one book, but when you think about doing a series and how if you run Facebook ads to your first book in the series, that cost is going to leverage out over your entire series. And if you are testing your ads and paying attention, you will be able to get a good ROAS, a return on your ad spend, not only on your first book, but on the entire series itself. We also recommend.
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, that makes so much sense, because then you're thinking about it like an e-commerce business as well as an author.
Right. We also recommend now, primarily because of the influence and the strength of AI, to look at where your words appear in public spaces. And I don't mean public as in, your park. I mean public areas on the internet, because AI is about your words, right? So in every nook and cranny and corner of the internet, you want your words to appear. And by that, I mean either transcripts from podcasts, blogs, anything that is on your website, anything that you are producing in terms of not emails, because emails are private, posts, any of your profiles, any areas that AI can index and scan on the internet. All of that goes into your digital footprint. And what AI is looking for, so metadata counts, what AI is looking for is all of this congruent, right? So if Roland puts out some stuff about a book over here, and then he talks about it in a different way over here, AI is going to say, so is this the same Roland, or what's he doing here? Do we put this in the same folder? So we're looking for congruency. We're looking for repetition. We're looking for frequency. And AI is saying, if you give me frequency, repetition, congruency, I will tell other people about you. And so what I recommend to your listeners is go to AI, whichever one you like best, and say, what is my repetition? What is my reputation in the AI world? What can you tell me about myself?
That's interesting. That's an existential question, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Am I a big deal, or has no one heard of me because I have no words out there? This is why the resurgence of press releases are so important. A lot of people think press releases are like old school, but AI loves press releases. And AI loves press releases because AI loves structure. And so press releases follow a very specific structure. And if you're familiar with the term a second read, which is basically where you have subheads, subtitles, and so you can scan an article and you can see kind of what it is, and then you go back in and you read the details if you're interested. AI loves that structure because it can immediately, like seconds, say, this is a great article and it'll teach these people how to do this, right? Or this is a great article because it will inspire people to do X, Y, and Z. And so the work becomes looking at three audiences in terms of a press release. What will AI look for? will editors find this story newsworthy? And will readers, the correct readers, because of metadata, enjoy this story and act on it as well? And so press releases have become really important in terms of getting the word out. It's a tactic that a lot of people don't know about, don't use, but it is very, very rewarding, and you do get results from it. The other thing is, if you use the criteria of what can I produce today that will live on the website, or that will live on the internet for a long time, press releases is one of those. If you think about social media feeds here, going now, here for a moment, going forever. Other things like your blog. So blogs are back in again because blogs live on forever. Blogs can be full of metadata, keywords, not keyword stuffing. I'm not advocating that, but being smart about what you use. Instead of saying, I'm a best-selling author, I would say, I'm a best-selling author writing in the genres of A, B, and C.
That's really
that feeds, yeah, that feeds the algorithm.
That's so fascinating. I used to have a job in corporate America writing press releases, and I also worked in radio stations where I'd sit next to the fax machine, and all these press releases would come through, and they just immediately get dumped in the garbage can. So I was like, press release, but it makes so much sense because AI doesn't sit in an office next to a fax machine. AI is searching for stuff, and press releases, that kudos they used to have is coming back. That's invaluable advice.
Yeah, it's true what you're saying as well, in the sense that, I've searched for something in the past and had these press releases come up, and they're like super old, right? So like when you're saying that they last forever on the, aside from, fax machine right into the garbage, on the internet though, they do last forever, and that is often that'll come up on a search, and I'll be like, oh, and then I look at the date and I'll say, oh, that's from 5 years ago or whatever. Right. So yeah, it's very interesting. And to go back a minute too, when you talk about advertising, obviously that's super key. And it used to be when we started, you didn't even have to advertise. Now, if you're not advertising, no one knows about you. Right. And it's unfortunate, right? Especially because it's become so expensive. And Facebook specifically is a difficult advertising platform, especially for people that don't have a marketing and advertising background, right? It's not like you just go into Facebook and set up an ad and you're done, right? Like, it's complicated. And I mean, you don't have to use half of the things, or probably 75% of the things that are on there, but just knowing what you do need to use and don't need to use, and how to interpret everything, you almost need a degree in that. And there's not a lot of help out there because it's quite expensive to, there's courses, but then again, you've got to spend all the time learning that stuff, and you've got to monitor your ads. Facebook's going to spend your money whether you're getting results from it or not. So I'm just curious about, are you, with your network, do you offer assistance to people in setting up the ads? Do you point them to specific resources that help them understand? Are you hearing sort of the same sort of thing from authors, that like advertising, Facebook advertising, all the other kinds are just very complicated and sort of scary to get going on?
I would say that most of the authors in the Bold Authors Network are afraid of Facebook ads, right? In the year that I have been leading this group, I have not gone to Facebook ads because they're not ready for it. There are other things that they need to do to be able to be ready for it. And so, so probably in year 2, we will start to introduce it to those who are ready. And by ready, I mean they have the products that are Facebook, are going to produce, Facebook ads are going to produce results for. They have series so that their money is well spent, and that they have a higher level of understanding of advertising and marketing itself. So I am a huge A/B tester coming out of my direct marketing days. And so when I run ads, I do a series of 7 tests before I get to an ad that works. And when I have that ad that works, like I have an ad now that's been working at a really great level for 6 months, I think it is. And Craig, you will probably like smack me upside the head, but I check it occasionally. And it just,
well, like,
it just
you know,
produces,
when you
like,
find
it
one that
produces
works
every day.
Right. Okay. So yeah, when you find one that works, you can generally let it go. Although sometimes, you know, your audience gets stale and you do need to make changes. But
Well, and I know,
finding that one that works is the
during
trick.
Black Friday, I'm not going to make any money probably, but
Right.
Yeah.
So you might want to turn it off during certain key times.
Right.
But just finding that one that works is often the hard part. And you know, you're as a marketing background, you have the knowledge to do that, but most people aren't going to be able to do that. And when they do create those ads, just interpreting those results and knowing to monitor them and not let them run away or forget about them. I've forgotten about ads in the past. And be like, go in and be like, oh great, I've spent all that money and it wasn't really
Yeah. Well, I track them. I mean, when I get a bill from you know, when I get a bill that shows up from Facebook, I always go in and correlate, you know, okay, we're doing good here. We're fine. Another thing that I'd like to add to this whole strategy of how the algorithms work for you is by writing more books, right? So building your backlist, and whether it's a series or it's, you know, one-offs, just having more books under your name will increase your juice with the algorithms. The algorithms will serve you more if you have more books. And along with that goes reviews. And so I'm a huge advocate of pushing really, really hard for reviews. And Amazon wants more reviews that are good reviews. They really don't care too much what the reviewer says. What they're looking at is the number of reviews and the level of the rankings. So a lot of readers don't know how to leave reviews, and they get really nervous about it because they're like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to write. And they feel like they have to write a whole book review. And a review on Amazon is not a book review. A review on Amazon is, did you like the book? Great. Give it 5 stars. Say you liked it. One thing about why you liked it, then you're done. That's really all you need. We don't need long paragraphs. And do not leave a review. In my world, I say a glowing review. What I mean by that is readers do not understand that if you leave a ranking that is like 4 and below, it can be devastating for an author's readability for that book. And when people go in and leave a ranking of 1 purely out of spite or just because they're mean people, I don't know, it really dings a reader's, it's not readability, but the level of confidence that the algorithm has. And it's, in my opinion, it's not fair. And I recommend that every reader look at those ratings and rankings. And if they need to fight them, do so. Because Amazon will listen to you. For example, there are passive aggressive readers who will say, you know, I just never give anybody a 5 because you can always do better. And I'm like, wow. It's a freaking good book. You loved it. You said so in the review that you loved this book and you think everybody should read it. But just because you have this little thing about not giving people 5s, you're going to ding an author's reputation. It's not fair. And if I see a review, yeah, it's just like, not fair.
You got into Harvard. That's, you know.
But,
I mean, I guess that's just any university.
So I will say a few things here, because basically, like, Hidden Gems is, we started with the review service, right? So that's what we're best known for. We've been doing it for a decade. So there's a few points here. One is, obviously, yes, better reviews are always wanted by the authors.
Yes.
The problem is, Amazon, they don't necessarily care what you say in the review, but there are things they do care that if you do say. Like, for instance, if you say, I got this book for free in exchange for reviewing it, they'll ban that review, they'll ban that reviewer, they'll ban the book.
Right.
Like, there are things that you do want to be careful about, but at the same time, that means that if you're always giving 5-star reviews, and I've seen this happen lots of times from people that give every book a great review, they'll get flagged as well, right? So Amazon is watching, whether they're doing it themselves, they have bots, they have whatever. It's hard
right. Yeah.
People should be leaving honest reviews. If you don't love a book, though, especially if you don't finish the book, if you're reading a book and you don't like it that much and you don't want to read it, stop reading it. Don't leave a review. You don't have to be like,
exactly.
And then leave the 1 star. Right. That's fine. And even with our service, like we say, like, we'll send you the book. If you don't like it, you don't have to review. But at the same time, we can't stop you, right? Like, their reviews, they're very strict about it. It has to be voluntary, it has to be honest. And there is research. I wrote an article for a website, and I had quoted this Stanford, I think, study that is now been removed from the web. The link doesn't work anymore. So I can't speak to it anymore. But there's a lot of research that shows that readers and consumers of any product these days, because we're so savvy now of buying things online, there actually is research that proves that some bad reviews is actually beneficial to a product, to a book. If you have all bad reviews, obviously it's not. But if you have 5-star reviews, people think it's fake. They think that there's no way. Not everyone loves everything, so they are not real reviews. So it's okay if you're getting some, and hopefully very few, but some lower reviews. You don't need all 5 stars. If you're only getting lower reviews, you might want to look at what's going on with your book. I don't think reviewers necessarily always have to give glowing reviews, but they shouldn't be, like you said, they shouldn't be like, oh, I don't give 5 stars. Well, then don't review books, right? Like, I mean, if it's a great book, it's a great book. It doesn't mean they're never going to be a better book. You're not giving 5 star to the best book you've ever read and you haven't yet come across it. There can be in your life, right? So people have to think about it that way. You're not ranking them all against each other. You're saying, this book to me is a great read, so it's a 5 star.
Right.
I think authors shouldn't necessarily be scared about getting 1 or 2 poor reviews, because it really, really does make the rest of your reviews look more legit, because people know that nobody writes anything that everybody loves. Pick the best books in the world.
Right. Even the Bible. Even the Bible gets bad reviews.
Every book out there that people love or hate or whatever, they have good and bad. So that's fine. The problem is that often with self-published authors, you're only getting a few. And then if you do get a negative one, that can really affect your score if you only have a few reviews. When you have 20, 30, 50, 100 reviews, 2 or 3 bad reviews is not even moving the needle, but it's showing people that those are probably more legit. So
so I agree. I mean, you don't want all 5 stars, but so here's a little trick that people can do, reviewers can do. One of my bold authors taught me this. She actually puts 5 gold stars in her headline. And then the title of her review. Isn't that clever? There's something really subconscious about that. When you see those gold stars, in addition to the 5 stars, right? Like Amazon's 5 stars, then she puts 5 stars. And it's so cool. But I think back to the reviews, if readers understood the impact of reviews more fully, they would really work maybe a little bit harder to support their favorite authors. And I know life gets in the way. I know it's hard, one of the things, they, at a bare minimum, Roland, you asked, what can people do to promote their books? At a bare minimum, when you have a book, either put your QR code in the back of the book, or what I do, see if I don't have it in here. I have a little bookmark, and I put it in every book.
Oh, that's a
And
great idea.
I give away tons and tons of books. And I put a little bookmark in each one, and it has the link and a QR code to the review page. And as a result, I get a lot of reviews. Some people don't like to give away books, but to me, that's just, one of the costs, the way that you invest in your book is you give books away. I travel a lot. Whenever I go, when I'm in an airport, on an airplane, I always have books with me. I always engage with people. I give books out on airplanes. A stewardess or an attendant asked me for one day. And I just it's the money flow, right? Like you just put out,
What you put out, you receive.
into the universe. Yeah, you just keep putting it out there.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great idea that people have to keep that in mind, because it's not like you only give away books. People think you only give away books when you're at a book fair and you have a booth and you're whatever. You can give them away all the time. That's a great point.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, we are approaching the top of the hour, so we're going to have to start wrapping things up, which is a pity, because I think we could continue this conversation for quite a while.
Yes, there's lots more to cover.
Yeah. I mean, you've said some really revelationary stuff, actually, which is really exciting.
Thank you.
Craig, before we ask Kae to tell us where everyone can find out more about her and what she does, do you have any questions or comments or anything?
I agree. Like this time has flown by, so maybe we'll have Kae on again to go over some of the things that she didn't go over yet. But yeah, that this has been really great. Like, we've heard some tips we haven't heard before, and I think you've made a lot of really good points. So I think there's tons here for people to unpack, and if they're sort of at that stage in their career where they're sort of getting started, it sounds like your company would be a good fit for them. So why don't you just tell us a bit about where we can find you and all that?
Yes. So to get registered at the Bold Authors Network, it's very simple, www.boldauthors.network.com. When you go to that page, there will be a form to register. That will get you on the list to get all the notifications for promo hour and for any courses that we're releasing, that we're opening up. Anything like participation in the listicles, which actually is free, so that's great for authors. And that will get you into the community. Then if you also want to look at be in my readers community, so that is www.kaewagner.com, and that's Kae Wagner, WAGNER.com. And I recommend authors to be on my readers list so they can see how these author newsletters work, how I'm putting out information about my books, on a weekly basis to my readers. Because one of the things that I feel really strongly about is that a book should not operate in a vacuum. A book should operate in an ecosystem that the author creates. And one of the ways that you create an author ecosystem is by communicating with repetition and frequency to your readers. Readers love authors, and they love hearing the backstories, the character stories, the world building, all of the things that impact the characters that they have come to love. And so part of being a responsible author is to be out in the world, to be visible to your readers so that they can fully experience the author, the book ecosystem, and the connection. And it deepens their experience, and it makes them eager to read your next book. They're looking for, what else is she creating? And when a reader tells you, I don't care what you write, I'm going to read everything, you're like, oh, that I love.
Well, that's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
So, yeah, well, it has just been a delight having you join us, and I think there's so much that you've covered that we might I don't know, Craig, what do you think? But you might want to ask you back. I mean, the stuff about the press releases, that was really anyway, we will pop a link down below to your website, so if anyone who's listening or watching on YouTube has enjoyed what Kae has had to say and wants to learn more, then scroll down there, click on that link, and you can go and check that out. While you go, there is that big empty comment section, so make sure you leave Kae a comment, let her know how much you've appreciated everything she has shared with us today. There's also that's a like button. There's that bell icon. If you give that a smash, you will get notified every time there's a new episode of Fully Booked. And of course, there will be a brand new episode of Fully Booked coming out next week. So until then, cheerio.